She began wearing brighter leggings nearly 6 months ago. Not that I was keeping track, but after almost a decade of marriage, you notice small changes. They were the type that turned heads at the gym. Tight-fitting, bold colors, patterns you wouldn't throw on for a quick run to the grocery store. At first, I brushed it off as her finally committing to the fitness routine she'd always talked about. Honestly, I encouraged it. She often said she felt her best when she was active. She'd come home with her cheeks flushed, hair in a messy bun, and a faint layer of sweat across her forehead. Sometimes she even carried that gym scent, rubber, detergent, and the light trace of eucalyptus from yoga mats. But then there were nights she didn't return sweaty at all. Her hair looked styled, too neat for squats and burpees, and her makeup, though subtle, hadn't smudged the way it should after a workout. I remember the first time I really noticed. She said she was going to a late spin class. 2 hours later she walked in glowing, but not the glow of exercise. It was something warmer, softer. Still I kept quiet. I've never been the kind of man to accuse without proof. My father once told me, if you're going to say someone's betrayed you, have the truth in your hand like a stone. So I waited. I watched. Her gym visits became more frequent. 3, sometimes 4 nights a week, including Saturday mornings. She'd grab the same black duffel, kiss me on the cheek and say, "Don't wait up." Those words used to feel close. Now they felt like a door locking. One Tuesday, I was flipping channels when her phone buzzed on the counter. She was in the shower. I didn't touch it, but the preview lit up the screen. Just a first name. A man's. No emojis, no context. The message said, "Same time tonight." I told myself it could have been harmless. Maybe someone from her class. But the certainty in those 3 words ate at me. 2 weeks later came the turning point. She said she signed up for a special class. Personal training with a friend. My gut twisted, and I made a choice I never thought I could. After she pulled out of the driveway, I counted to 30 and followed. My palms were slick on the wheel, heart hammering as I rehearsed excuses in case she caught me. She drove past our gym without hesitation. Straight through the intersection, toward the part of town with cafes, boutiques, and that apartment complex I'd seen before while helping a friend house hunt. She pulled in, slung her bag over her shoulder, and headed not toward a gym, but to the 3rd building on the right. Halfway up the steps, a man came out. Tall, athletic, with that easy grin you wear when you're meeting someone you've been waiting for. She slowed, and his arms opened without a word. Their hug wasn't quick. It wasn't friendly. It was the kind of embrace that says, "I've been counting the hours until I can breathe you in." I didn't shout. Didn't call her name. I just lifted my phone, framed them, and snapped a picture. The shutter felt like thunder in the quiet night. Then I set the phone down, started the car, and drove away before either of them knew I'd been there. The ride home felt like moving through water. Heavy, slow, muffled. Every red light held me long enough to replay her face buried in his shoulder. I didn't cry. Not because I didn't want to, but because my body had forgotten how. When I pulled into the driveway, the house seemed different. Same siding, same porch light buzzing, but heavier somehow, like it carried the same knowledge I now held. I sat there until my legs ached, staring at the front door we'd walked through countless times together. Inside, I dropped my keys, poured a glass of water, and just stood there holding it. I didn't open the photo. I didn't need to. The image was etched into me, like staring too long at the sun and seeing it burned into your vision. I slept on the couch that night. Not because she wasn't home. She slipped in close to midnight, but because I couldn't bring myself to lie beside someone who had been in another man's arms just hours earlier. She moved quietly, thinking I was asleep. Her bag hit the floor, then the sound of her creeping upstairs. 15 minutes later the shower came on. I imagined her rinsing the night off, scrubbing away every trace of him before sliding under our covers. The days that followed I became a shadow. At work, I smiled through meetings I couldn't recall later. At home I played the role, asking about her workouts, feigning interest when she bragged about upping her weights, even cooking dinner so she could rest. But each night after she fell asleep, I sat at the dining table with my laptop. I wasn't searching for proof anymore. I had that. I was preparing, gathering leverage, quietly shifting money into an account she didn't know about, clearing debts, pausing investments she might try to claim. I even met with a lawyer, pretending it was about updating my will. He didn't need to know the truth. By the second week, I knew her schedule by heart. Monday, Thursday, and Saturday were her gym days. She'd leave at 6:15, return by 8:30. Unless it was Saturday when she came back closer to 10. Her clothes faintly carrying cologne masked under a quick spray of perfume. On Thursday I followed her again. This time I didn't stay in the lot. I parked 2 streets over, walked closer, and hid behind a hedge. They wasted no time. The second she reached his door, he pulled her inside. I stood there for a few seconds, heart hammering in my ears, before turning and walking away. The second photo stayed in my camera roll beside the first, like bookends to a story I never signed up for. It's strange how quickly betrayal becomes part of the background hum of life. By the end of that month I could pour her coffee, watch her stir in the sugar, and feel nothing. No anger, no sadness, just an odd, heavy calm. I didn't know when or if I would confront her. But I did know one thing. When the time came, it wouldn't be loud. It would be final. The morning it happened was painfully ordinary. She stood at the counter, hair in that same casual bun, scrolling her phone while sipping coffee. Her gym bag rested by the door. "Got your class tonight?" asked, keeping my voice light. She smiled, genuine or good enough to pass, then said, "Yeah, late one. Don't wait up." I nodded, kissed her cheek, and left for work. But I didn't go to the office. I parked 2 blocks from her apartment complex and waited. Almost an hour passed before her car turned into the lot. Same building, same parking spot. I didn't follow her. I had everything I needed. Instead, I drove to the small print shop I had scoped out a week before. 10 minutes later, I left with an envelope containing 2 crisp photographs. The first hug and the doorway pull from the second night. By the time I got home, my decision was made. No arguments, no screaming. Just truth delivered cleanly. She returned around 8:40, the faintest trace of someone else's cologne clinging to her clothes. She kicked off her sneakers, dropped her bag, and offered me a distracted "hey" before heading upstairs. I waited until the shower ran, then placed the envelope on her pillow. No note, no words, just evidence, forcing her to face it alone. I didn't linger to watch her reaction. I grabbed my overnight bag, packed with clothes, documents, and the hard drive with our financial records, and walked out, leaving the door unlocked behind me. 15 minutes later, I was halfway to the cabin I had rented under my name alone. My phone buzzed in the passenger seat. Oh. Then another. Then a text. "Where are you? What is this? We need to talk." I didn't answer. I turned the phone face down and kept driving. Some people think closure comes from confrontation, from shouting until your voice breaks. For me, it came in silence, leaving her with the truth she could no longer avoid. That night, I sat on the porch of the cabin, listening to the wind rustle through the pines. No city noise. No gym bags. No cologne that wasn't mine. For the first time in months, maybe years, my chest loosened. Not because I had won anything, there's no victory in betrayal, but because I had finally walked away. And I knew without a single doubt that I wasn't going back.